we're going to bring Lewis back because, we've had a couple of folks. We had the League of Women Voters, in addition, of course, to Ms. Williams, and then Mr. Savoy now, talking about Black men vote. Your reaction, Lewis?
The whole time Mr. Savoy was speaking, I was sitting here just beaming with pride. He would be my elder. And, I guess Endai was saying earlier, I have voted ever since I could. And so that's since 1982. So if you're out there doing the math, trying to figure out how old I am, I was 18, living in Chicago. And I've never missed an election. It is so important. It is freest, although some are trying to take that freedom away from us, but it has not always been free, but it is the freest form of expression that can accompany civil protests in the streets. And civil protest is often needed, and it's needed now, and that's why you see it happening around the country. But if you rightfully practice your right to protest in a civil way, and you do nothing else to help change the equation of the very parties, the very structures you're trying to change, by not voting, you're missing an opportunity to impact those structures. I hope to talk to Mr. Savoy because next Thursday, October 8th, for this very reasons he espoused, I've wanted to do a particular GOTV effort with African American men. So I'm partnering with the National African American Men's Wellness Agency, started out of Columbus, Ohio. They have a chapter here in DC. We've worked with them before. They usually do a 5K walk run east of the river. It was canceled this year because of the pandemic. And that's all about engaging Black men to take care of their health, to know their numbers. Well, we're working with them next Thursday. And we're aiming to get as many Black men, voting age 18 and up, onto our event next week. So I invite Mr. Savoy to watch us and engage with us on that event next week. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to segue again, Lewis, and I don't want you to go because we've gone from our queenagers and kingagers to us, I think, who are still in that boomer category. Of course, I might have a year or two on you, but who's talking years? But we're going to bring in a millennial, because I know that that's part of the conversation as well. And I'm so excited to have, we have an intern or fellow actually that's working with us, Erica Johnson. And Erica is graduated from American University with her master's degree. And so she's working with us for about 10 weeks as a Google News Initiative fellow. And we've been talking about voting. And so I wanted to bring Erica into the conversation because I know AARP, even though you focus on people 50 plus, I got my membership at 47 some reason. I don't know how that happened, but Erica, you're muted. So can you unmute yourself?
Oh yeah, I was saying my mother has her membership too.
Wonderful. So I mean, we both want to talk to you because it's I think AARP's efforts and all of our efforts has been to try to make sure that younger people understand the value of voting, and so weigh in on that.
I guess for me, voting is important because I see all the changes and all the things that people have fought for previously that either haven't happened. Some things have changed, but most things, if you look at like the Black Panthers, what Huey P. Newton and those organizations, they founded, and they did this at a really young age, Martin Luther King, we're still fighting for the same progress that we have not gotten. In fact, in a lot of cases, we've regressed. And now during the pandemic, we've regressed even more. So, for example, the threat of having like $26 billion cut from Social Security. Now, there's been a threat of that before, but now I feel like it's more serious because of who's leading the White House now, that this is a huge possibility that our futures, we already knew that we wouldn't have as much money as people who have, before us had in Social Security, but that's a threat. Not only that, but then also student loan debt. It was a huge thing for millennials and Gen Z. A lot of people are living at home right now. So what's happening out here, directly impacts us, especially when people were graduating from school. There are a lot of people who didn't have internships or jobs because of the pandemic. So like we have the flip side of people being older, like, elderly, and then you have the people who are married, have kids. But then these people that are coming out of school, that came out of school right now, just trying to start their lives, couldn't. So that is going to have a long-term effect in our long-term future for millennials. So everything that's happening right now is directly impacting my generation and younger. So it's very important to get out to vote.
Louis, that almost feeds right into your hand when you talk about Social Security and you're talking about, young people moving back into the houses of their parents and how that is impacting particularly your members. How are you all addressing that?
But it's staying in the frame of the conversation here. We perennially we fight to protect Social Security. About every high moon, there's some threat to Social Security, to expanding Medicaid in states that we fought for, to protecting the Affordable Care Act that AARP fought for back in 2010, 2009, and 2010. And while we still haven't finished that work because it's still in danger. It's been chipped away at every few years over the last 4.5 years. And I would, it's a pleasure to meet you, Erica. I would add to what Erica said in helping people to understand that no matter what generation you're born into, you're impacted by public policy. You're impacted by the political decisions that create policies that impact your local taxes, how your schools are funded, whether or not you have clean water in Flint, Michigan. So it doesn't matter if you're 18 years old or 88 years old. If you're drinking water laced with lead, you should be doing something about that, and you have the ability when you vote. So I was talking to my barber this week, and just across the line in Maryland, and he's all of about 27, 28 years old. And I was just curious, and I asked him how many, he happens to be African American, how many of his peers were planning to vote. And he, grudgingly, said, not enough of them. He intends to, but he gets kind of a, shrug of the shoulders, and that ain't for me. And, what difference will it make kind of response. And he pushes back. And I gave him some more, ammunition to push back with. We stand on the shoulders of our grandmothers, mothers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers who stood in line, being spat on, having bricks thrown at them, guns pointed in their faces. And we don't have the audacity to sit out any election and say, what's that got to do with me?
But Louis, I hate to interrupt, and because of time, we're going to wrap up in a minute. And I wanted Erica to weigh on this, because I've heard young people say, I've heard that, I get it, but what does that have to do with me? And I don't know, Erica, how you feel about that. I just want to give you sort of a last word to either defend, explain, or like Louis say, you don't have the audacity. What's your feel on this?
For me, I feel like I'm also a legal observer with the National Lawyers Guild, and I'm also on the co-chair of the Mass Defense Committee. So I'm like super activated within like what's happening in social justice. So you're preaching to the choir when you're speaking to me, but other people that I've spoken to, and it depends on the circles that you're in, because you have to meet people where they are so that they understand where you're trying to get them to go. So if you're saying that, okay, well, we don't see exactly, I think now people that are younger, Gen Z, millennial, even like the younger millennials will see a change now because they're directly impacted by what's happening now. So it's a total different ballgame. So I think speaking to the young people now is going to be a different conversation about what's happening about voting, if we need to be active, what we should do going forward, because they're directly impacted, especially those people who graduated from HBCUs. Now you can see what's happened during the coronavirus, where a lot of Black businesses, including HBCUs, are suffering now because they don't have the income. This directly impacts that generation. So they can see the effects of being involved in public policy physically and mentally, because there's some tangible benefit or something that's happening directly to them that makes them want to be a part of what's happening now. So I think in this election, we're going to see increase of younger voters happening in this country now, because people want change. You know, you can't just protest and then not take that protest to the ballot, because that's where the change happened. So I think we're going to see a difference.
Yeah, I'm keeping hope alive. I'm glad that you were with us, Erica, to kind of, give, because Lewis was about to go there, and at least knowing that, because he has talked to somebody who talks with his peers who are not quite on the same page, or not quite in the same choir, singing from the same choir that you're in. And so we realize we all have work to do. So with that, we're going to close because we're over time, but I want to thank you, Lewis, for supporting this program, for supporting our special issue. And as you know, we'll be having you back because we're dedicating the whole month to voting, because we want to do our part to get everybody, like my daddy used to say, lottie-dottie, and everybody to the polls on November 3rd. All right?
Or before.
Or before. That's right. Thanks so much.
Thank
all
you.
right. You all have a great day. And at this point, we're going to sign off here with Win TV. But don't go away, because WI Bridge TV is coming right behind us. So until we see you next week, have a wonderful week. Be safe and vote.